Hey, how's it going? Welcome to another video. My name is Chris Down. If you're new to my channel, I cover pretty much everything to do with Google Ads for local businesses. Today what we're going to be talking about is how to generate junk removal leads with Google Ads. So if you're looking to run some junk removal PPC for your business, that's what we're going to be talking about today. So to be kind of clear, this is not going to be a hands-on tutorial. This is going to be a lot more informational, kind of giving you some tips and tricks. It's going to be pretty in-depth, but my intention here is to kind of give you an overview of everything that you need, all the different steps to implement for yourself to get your junk removal PPC campaigns working really well. So if you are interested in content like that, make sure you subscribe to the channel, like the video, really helps out. And yeah, if you are a business looking to have campaigns implemented for you, one thing I also offer free consultations and free audits. So just if that is you, hit the link in the description below and we can set up time to chat. But now that that's all out of the way, let's get going. I'm going to get my face off the screen and we'll get going with the content. So like I just mentioned, this video isn't going to be a full-on step-by-step kind of hands-on over-the-shoulder tutorial. I do have one of those already on the channel. I'll put a link to that in the description below. But kind of view this video as sort of a checklist or the cliff notes for a successful campaign. I have some different sort of overview steps that you really kind of need to have lined up if you want to see success with your campaign. So before we get into it, why listen to me? Why listen to this random stranger on the internet? I've been doing Google Ads for quite a while at this point. Been fortunate to learn from a lot of really great people, and essentially, I guess the proof is kind of on the channel. You can see some of the case studies that I have, not only in junk removal but in other niches as well, and those are continuing to grow by the day. So results are there, and if you follow some of these steps, not only in this video but in the other videos that I have, I'm sure you'll be able to find success as well. So to have success with Google Ads, we're really going to need three main things. And if these three things are lined up, then you're most likely going to have success on Google Ads. So the first thing we're going to want is we want to get the right high quality traffic from Google. The second thing we want is we want to write ads that people actually click on. And then the third thing is we need to convert that traffic into leads. And when I say a lead, I mean somebody either picking up the phone and calling you or submitting a form on your landing page. So that third point is we need to have a landing page or a really well optimized website that actually converts that traffic into leads. And on top of this, you need to make sure you have conversion tracking set up so you know what's working and what's not working. And pretty much we're going to cover all this later on, further down the line in this tutorial. So don't worry too much about this right now. But keep these 3 points in mind, because what I really like to do when it comes to Google Ads is really just kind of simplify it down, because the platform can be very overwhelming. But if you keep these three things in mind, this is going to help you focus on what you need to work on, what you need to set up, and when it comes to optimize your campaign later on, the things that you need to work on. First thing we're going to have to do is we are going to have to get our Google Ads account set up. So obviously, if you have an account set up already, you can skip this step. If you don't have one set up, go to ads.google.com. At the top right of the screen, there's going to be a Start Now button. Just follow the process to get the account set up. It's really simple. It's really straightforward. Google does a pretty good job about walking you through it step by step. One really important note, though, is whenever you start a new Google Ads account, they usually start you off in what's called the Smart Mode version of the campaign. We want to switch over to Expert Mode. So at the top of the page, you're going to be able to hit these settings. There's a little wrench up at the top of the page, and then choose to switch to Expert Mode. And the reason why this is important is that without being in expert mode, you're not going to be able to do some of the things we're talking about in this video. Really, to run a successful campaign, you can't really be in smart mode. To run a really successful campaign, you need all of the features, and when you're not in expert mode, you don't have all the features. One other really quick note, and this is as of July 2022, if you create a new Google Ads account anytime anytime around this date, essentially Google's having a lot of issues right now with account suspensions. So whenever people set up new accounts, sometimes they'll get flagged for suspicious payments, things like that. Don't freak out. If you're watching this video anytime around then and that happens, it's just an issue that Google's dealing with right now. But once your Google Ads account is set up, we can start moving on getting a campaign together. Now that we've got our account set up, what we're going to do is probably do things a little bit differently. This is usually how I like to get campaigns set up, is I want to get my landing pages set up first. So A landing page is pretty much where you're going to be sending your traffic. It's a dedicated and focused page that is designed to convert leads. Generally, this is not the homepage of your website. Like I mentioned before, website homepages can work, but they need to be designed with converting leads in mind. For the most part, a website homepage is way too distracting. There's a bunch of different links for people to click on. People can click off to social media, go browse your Facebook page or Instagram page, look at all your different services. And in theory, that sounds great, but when you give people too many things to do, they're just not going to take the action that you want them to take. So you want to have no navigation, no ways to click off the page, have a really, really focused one next step for the user to take. Because if they have 10, they're most likely not going to take any action. So moving forward, I will be uploading a more in-depth landing page video, but for the time being, here are a couple examples. And once that video is done with the landing page tutorial, I'll put a link in the description below. So this is a quick example of a landing page. I know it is not specific to junk removal. Like I said, I will be putting together a full-on landing page tutorial moving forward. In order to do that, I wanted to kind of come up with a full-on mock-up of a landing page, because unfortunately, I don't want to be just kind of sharing out my clients' landing pages and just sort of giving those out to everybody, just because that's kind of their, I guess, competitive advantage on their end. I don't want to be giving out all that information, but I figured I would kind of find some examples of landing pages and walk you through them and how landing pages kind of work in a way. So the first thing you're going to notice is there is zero navigation on this page. So when somebody hits this page from Google, they pretty much have two options. They either become a lead, do whatever the next action is you want them to take, or they can go back to Google. And that sounds a little bit restrictive, but in these cases, if you're paying for every single one of these clicks coming from Google, you want to maximize every single one of those opportunities to convert those people into leads. So we need to keep the page really, really focused on getting people to convert into a lead. If we're doing this for a local business or junk removal in this example, usually I'm going to put a phone number up here in the top right, have a very clear and concise headline that is going to call out to the people who are searching for junk removal. So the headline could be something as simple as, junk removal service, or junk removal service serving your location. Don't overthink it and overcomplicate it. The whole idea is we want to keep things very, very simple, very focused, and get people to the next step. And whenever I'm doing a junk removal campaign, the call to action is going to be, call for a free quote, call for a free estimate, or fill out a form, get an estimate. And everything else on the page, it's going to be about us information, reviews, types of junk you haul away, and it's not going to be some copywriting masterpiece. You don't need to be an expert copywriter. You just need to make sure your page is simple, it's focused, it's easy to read, and it's easy to see, what you do. One of the biggest things you need to focus on is answering the question, what do you do? Do you serve my area? And make it really, really simple for people. So you might be wondering why use landing pages. Why not just send the traffic to the homepage of my website? Even if, if it's got the same kind of information. And this is really just kind of backed up by data and my own kind of findings of running campaigns and all that kind of stuff. Because usually in 9 out of 10 cases, a landing page is going to convert higher than a website. I've seen cases of a homepage converting at 10% and a landing page converting at 40% on the same account. This is, kind of the reason why this is important is because it's cutting down the cost per lead. And at the end of the day, if you're running Google ads, the cost per lead is the most important thing. There's going to be a lot of people in Google ads, talking about quality score and click-through rate and all this kind of stuff. The only metric I'm really concerned about for my clients is what is the cost per lead, and is that cost per lead affordable? Is it reasonable? So for example, if you're paying $12 a click, which is not unreasonable within junk removal for high quality traffic, and you're only converting at 10%, then pretty much what that means is 1 in 10 of those clicks is becoming a lead, which means your cost per lead is $120. You might break even at that rate, but it's still going to be kind of tough. But if we use landing pages and we're able to optimize things and get it up to 30% conversion rate, that's roughly 1 in 3 to 4 clicks becoming a lead. And now our cost per lead goes from $120 to $36 to $48 a lead. So the reason why I bring this up is where you send your traffic is really like 80% of having success on Google ads. Generating quality traffic, it's easy. You can get the right keywords, use the right match types, implement negative keywords. We're going to cover all that later on. But that part of the process is easy. So definitely do not skip this. Spend time on where you're sending the traffic. And yeah, it's super, super important. So some quick pointers before we move on off of landing pages. The top section of the page, which is typically called the above the fold content, it's pretty much the first thing people are going to see if they load up the landing page on their desktop or on their phone. Just focus on essentially answering questions for people, because if somebody's going from Google and they're clicking on an ad and they're hitting a page, they have a few things in their head that they're kind of thinking of. The first thing they're going to be asking is, can you solve my problem? And you want to answer that question. It's yes, we're a junk removal service and we can haul all these different things. Or yes, we're a junk removal service, we serve your area. And it doesn't have to, you don't have to say that specific thing, obviously. Your headline could literally just be junk removal service. Next thing you want to think about is, do you serve my area? And you can say, we serve this place and surrounding areas. You could just say, we serve your area. Make it known that you serve their area. You can come out to them. And then the final thing is, how can I contact you? And you want to make that call to action really, really clear. It could be as simple as call us today for a free estimate. So just answer those few things immediately when they hit the page. And you should have pretty solid success, because there's a lot of people coming from Google and they're just looking to call somebody, and they don't need to read paragraphs and paragraphs of about us information. They just need to know that you can solve their problem, because if they're going to Google, they have junk they need it removed, and the quicker you can solve that problem for them, the better. So if people see something on the landing page that is not relevant to the ad, they're most likely going to leave. And we're going to touch on that in just a little bit when we get on to relevance and message match. But some more quick points: make sure your landing page loads fast, and make sure it works on mobile. Both of those things are massive. A lot of your traffic is going to come from mobile, and if your landing page loads super slow, people are just going to go back to Google. This is also relevant to mobile. Make sure those call buttons and those phone numbers are tap to call on mobile. You can turn them into links. When somebody taps the button, it's literally just going to bring them over to the phone app on their phone. They can just make the call from there. Make sure your messaging on the page lines up with the ads and the keywords you're bidding on. We are going to cover that pretty much right after this slide. The reason for that is, when somebody's going to Google and they're searching for junk removal, you want to send them to a page that says junk removal. You don't want to send them to a page that says construction debris removal, or just has like a slogan on the page that kind of sounds nice. You want it to be very, very clear. Always put reviews on your page. Make multiple calls to action on the page and make them very clear. So don't just make it calls to action at the top, make them at the top, make them in the middle, make another call to action at the bottom of the page. And then really, when it comes to the call to action, limit that call to action to one. Limit, one step for the user to take. And that can be call or submit a form, but the whole idea is the next step should be, get a free quote. The next step shouldn't be get a free quote or book on the calendar or go to social media or do this. Just like next step should just be call for quote or get a free quote, whatever it might be. And limit that to one step for the user. Like I just mentioned, before we get to step 3, we have a very important concept that we need to understand before we even start getting into building out a campaign. It's really this whole idea of relevance and message match. I've heard it referred to as both, either relevance or message match. You've heard me kind of talk about this a little bit, about making sure what's on your landing page is relevant to what people are searching. And while those landing pages are incredibly important, probably the second most important thing in my head is that everything is relevant to what the person is searching for. And this can be called message match, relevance. The whole idea is that the searcher needs to see the same thing at every step of the funnel, and all of that messaging needs to be relevant to what they're searching for. So if somebody searches for junk removal or junk removal near me, you want to make sure they see an ad that says, junk removal or junk removal service. And then you want essentially, once they click on the ad, you want to take them to a landing page that talks about your junk removal services. So to understand how this kind of works, I'll explain it, and then I'll jump into an ad account really quickly, just kind of show you an overview of how it works. So this kind of ties into the overall structure of how a Google Ads campaign is structured. You have the campaign level up top. This is where you set your settings, you set your budget, your location targeting, all that kind of stuff. But within the campaign, you have ad groups, and you can create a ton of different ad groups. And then within each ad group, that's where you put your keywords and your ads. And all of this that we're talking about, this relevance and this message match, mainly applies to everything at an ad group level. So what I'm going to do really, really quick, I'm going to jump over to a live campaign and just kind of show you the campaign level and the ad group level and sort of explain this concept. And then we can kind of get going from there. So now we are inside of a live account. And what I wanted to do is kind of jump over here just so I could actually kind of visually explain what I'm talking about a little bit better. So up here, this is the campaign level. This is a live campaign right now. And this is pretty much where you're going to set up all your settings, location targeting, bidding strategies, all that kind of stuff. We'll cover that later on. But within the campaign, you have these ad groups. Now, think of ad groups as pretty much themes. These are all keyword themes, and you can expand this out into, furniture removal, appliance removal. Usually, if you start getting into things like the construction debris removal, as you can see, it doesn't get a ton of traffic, but there are people out there searching it. The whole idea with ad groups is these are themes, and this is how you start to get this relevance happening for your prospective customers. So within each one of these ad groups, there are specific keywords for that theme. So within junk removal, you're going to have junk removal keywords. If we go to junk hauling, it's all junk hauling keywords. And then within each one of these ad groups, you have ads. Obviously, I can't show you the ads for these particular clients because I don't want them to get taken. But within each one of these ad groups, you have ads, and those ads are essentially calling out to what people are searching. So junk removal ad group, people are searching for junk removal search terms. The ads say, junk removal service, need to haul your junk away, etc. For junk hauling, the ads are going to say junk hauling service. And it sounds like such a small little tweak, but it makes a massive difference, because if somebody's searching for junk pickup, they want to see an ad for junk pickup. It's not only going to get you a higher click-through rate, but when that kind of lines up in the funnel, and then on the landing page they see you talking about junk pickup or junk removal, it increases that conversion rate. Same thing for geographic keywords. Split out, geographic ad groups like this. Get keywords that are specific to the geographic region you want to target. In your ads, you're going to be talking about junk removal Philadelphia, junk removal Tampa, junk removal wherever your location is. You're going to talk about that in the ads. That increases the relevance and increases the click-through rate. Because you can see on some of these keywords, click-through rate is really high because it's very, very relevant. And then they see on the landing page, oh, this company is a junk removal company. They service Philadelphia. Therefore, conversion rate is high. So that is a really kind of brief explanation on that campaign structure and relevance. Wanted to get that out of the way first before we even start talking about keywords and ad groups and setting all that kind of stuff up, because this is such a massive concept that helps so much. If you just get the structure and the relevance right from the beginning, you kind of plan that ahead, it's going to make your life a lot easier further down the line. So this, in combination with the landing pages, makes running Google Ads far easier. And we'll kind of jump back to the slideshow and keep going. So just to kind of like beat the concept to death, if you will, if you're bidding on junk removal keywords, create an ad group that has only junk removal keywords, show those people searching for junk removal ads that speak directly to those keywords, then send them to a page that talks about junk removal. Same thing for junk hauling keywords, junk hauling ad group, show them ads talking about junk hauling, and then send them to a page that speaks directly to junk hauling. I've found that you don't necessarily have to completely change your landing page. In a lot of cases, if you create a well-designed kind of landing page speaking to junk removal, you can use that as your key landing page. It's still going to convert. I haven't seen like a massive change if you change up the headlines and things like that. But as long as you are still talking about junk removal, junk hauling, all that kind of stuff, that message match should still work out. But if you're bidding on junk removal keywords, you have people clicking on a junk removal ad, but your landing page says like construction debris removal right up at the top, you're gonna have a bad time. It's not really gonna work out too well. So as long as it lines up to an extent thematically, you should be fine when it comes to relevance and message match. As long as there's not a massive mismatch with the headline, like people searching junk removal and showing them construction debris, or people searching junk removal and then you just have like a slogan like "we do great work" at the top. Like that doesn't help the user. You need to just be very, very clear right off the bat, hey, we're a junk removal service, and then talk about your services. So now that that's out of the way, we have the important concept kind of drilled into your head. Now we can actually start getting our keywords together. Now what we're going to do is we are going to get our keywords and our negative keywords together. And I'll go over what negative keywords are in just a minute. So what we're going to do is we're going to go over to the Google Keyword Planner, and you want to go through there and search for relevant keywords to bid on. What you want to do is you want to make sure that you're only bidding on what are called high intent keywords. You don't want informational keywords, low intent, or like really broad keywords. So high intent keywords are things like junk removal near me, junk removal company near me, same thing going for like junk hauling. Low intent or broad keywords, you're going to find ideas in the keyword planner, like what is junk removal, broad things that are just like junk or hauling. You want to avoid that kind of stuff. So this is what the keyword planner looks like. Really what you're going to do is you're going to put in the root keywords like we got up here: junk removal near me, junk hauling. Literally just scroll through this list and pull out the high intent keywords. As you can see here, if you do this, you're probably going to see 1,300 keyword ideas available. You do not need to pull that many keywords. Just get a good sizable list. I think on a lot of the campaigns that I'm running, it might be anywhere from like 1 to 200 keywords. So I'm not, and that's split across multiple different ad groups. So I'm not bidding on a million different things, because that's just, a lot of them just aren't even going to get traffic. So go through this, start pulling those high intent keywords. Like you can see here: junk removal near me, junk hauling, junk haulers near me, that's a good one. Hauling services, junk pickup, and then you're going to start seeing things like 1-800-JUNK, 1-800-GOT-JUNK, all that kind of stuff. We are actually going to add those to our negative list, which we'll cover in just a little bit. So fair warning with this process: it's really tedious. It is not fun, but stick with it, especially when it comes to negative keywords. Make sure you invest the time building a negative keyword list before you start. So what you're going to want to do as you're doing that is you want to go through and actually organize your keywords into different categories based on the theme of what someone is searching. So this is, again, going back to relevance, message match, keeping everything very relevant to the searcher. These keyword things the themes are going to become your ad groups moving forward. And I usually use Google Sheets for this. This is what it looks like. I'll pull the keywords, and I'm literally just going to group them into these themes like this. So junk removal keywords go into the junk removal ad group. Furniture removal keywords, furniture removal ad groups. Appliance removal, junk pickup, junk hauling. That's pretty much how I do it. And also on top of this, I will group them up into like geographic ad groups as well. So once you've got all that together, you got your keyword list together, now it's time to start building your negative keyword list. Now, negative keywords are essentially the opposite of keywords. And what we're doing is we're pretty much just telling Google the keywords that we don't want to show up for. And I pretty much do this the same way. I will go through the keyword planner, I'll build this list, and the more that you have, the better, as long as it doesn't interfere with the keywords you are bidding on. I'll just build a massive list, put it in a spreadsheet, and then save it for later when we're actually building out the campaign. So first thing you want to do, go through that Google Keyword Planner, pull out irrelevant types of searches you don't want to show up for. So, those things like 1-800-GOT-JUNK, you're going to find other things that are just going to be irrelevant. You should be able to kind of see it and know that it's going to be a waste of money if somebody clicks on your ad for that search term. You can also go to Google, look up a list of common negative keywords on Google, and there's plenty of websites that have lists of negative keywords you can pull from. These are going to be things like free, cheap, jobs. There's a ton of different ideas that you can pull from. I recommend grabbing as many as possible that are relevant and just adding them on there, because you're going to see a lot of people going to Google searching for like free junk removal, cheap junk removal, all that kind of stuff, and you obviously don't want to show up for free junk removal. The last thing you want to do is go through your local marketplace and then add in all of your competitors as negative keywords as well. And on top of the kind of more local competitors, I generally exclude all of the bigger competitors as well. 1-800-GOT-JUNK, Junk King, JDog. Reason being is a lot of times, you can create campaigns where you're bidding on competitor search terms, but there's a whole strategy that kind of goes with that, with the ads and kind of how you handle the phone calls that come in and all that. Because if they are searching for competitors and they find that you're not a competitor when they call you, they'll probably just hang up the phone and leave. So it can work, but there needs to be a whole strategy. For this particular video, we are going to focus on kind of the basics. So really, to kind of close this section out, the negative keyword list is super, super important. Don't skip it. If somebody clicks on your ad for something irrelevant, like free junk removal, you are still going to get charged by Google. They pretty much don't care what your ads are getting clicked on. You need to make sure you control what your ads are showing up for. And one of the biggest parts of optimizing a campaign and really maximizing the performance of a Google Ads campaign is cutting out as much ad spend waste as possible from the campaign. So if we can reduce waste up front by adding a really, really good negative keyword list, preventing a bunch of irrelevant clicks on our ads, that's going to be really, really good moving forward. Now that you have your keyword list and your negative keyword list put together, it's now time to actually start setting up your campaign. Now for this video, what I'm going to do is I'm more just going to cover the very, very important settings that you either need to have enabled or disabled, because the campaign process, the campaign setup process is pretty straightforward. Google's pretty good about walking you through that process. And if you do want that full, kind of over the shoulder, step-by-step, what to click, kind of video, I've got that linked in the description below. I have the super in-depth, like 2-hour long tutorial video you can check out. But these are some of the things that you want to make sure that you have set up properly within the campaign settings. So very first thing we want to make sure that we have turned off is we want to turn off the Google Display Network. By default, Google is going to have this little box checked. We do not want to have this box checked. The reason we don't want to run Display Network with a local campaign is Google's pretty much going to take your text ad and then just show it on a bunch of random websites. And pretty much a lot of people are just going to click on it. None of them are going to convert into a lead, and it's just going to waste your money. So I don't think I've ever seen a display network option here turned on and actually making money for somebody's campaign. I've only ever seen it waste money. So make sure display network is turned off. Next thing you want to do is you want to be a little ridiculous with your location targeting. So usually what I do is I will start with the location that I want to target, which is this little blue radius here. Usually what I do is I just do a radius around the location. You can target zip codes and all that kind of stuff, but usually just a radius, whatever your preferred travel radius is around your location. Set that up as a radius, and then obviously I can't zoom this out because it's a screenshot, but literally exclude everything else. So if I were to zoom this map out, every other state is excluded. I'm pretty sure I go overboard and I exclude Canada, I exclude Mexico. I even try to get it as close to the targeting radius as possible here by excluding a bunch of different zip codes. Reason being is Google is still not perfect when it comes to sometimes your ad kind of like getting out of this targeting radius and being shown in other markets. So I kind of layer on top all of these, kind of in some cases unnecessary exclusions, but it's another layer of protection to prevent any waste from our campaign. Because if somebody, let's say you are in Texas and somebody sees your ad and they're in Colorado or something and they click on your ad, you're still going to get charged. Even if it does turn into a lead, that's a lead from Colorado, not from Texas. So we want to make sure that we have all of this kind of negative location layering going on. On top of that, underneath that map, you're going to see these location options. You want to make sure you have it set up like this. So for your location targeting, make sure you select presence, people in or regularly in your targeted locations. Because especially if you're doing a local campaign, you only want people that are in that target radius. You don't want people who are searching within that target radius, because then they could end up being, 50 miles away and they're just looking for somebody in your area. So you want to make sure that it's people in or regularly in your targeted locations. Exclude, you want to make sure it's presence or interest. So you want to make sure it's people in, regularly in, or who've shown interest in your excluded locations. So again, we're doing a lot of layering of like just excluding all the crap we don't want, and then making sure we're including the things that we do want. So like I mentioned before, why set your location targeting up like this? It's just to kind of prevent out-of-market leads, out-of-market clicks. We want to make sure that we're getting as much traffic as possible from within our targeted location and getting ideally none from outside that targeted location. Unfortunately, it still kind of slips through here and there, but setting this up like this can really help to reduce the instance that could happen. Now let's talk about ad schedule. Generally, I just set ad schedules to like 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. Monday to Friday. The best piece of advice I can give with an ad schedule is just set it for when you can get to the calls. Because really, ultimately, you need to be able to answer the phone. You need to be able to get the form fills. Just set the schedule to when either you or somebody within your business can actually get to the calls. Doesn't really matter really where you set it. You could have, if you want to set it from 5 p.m. to 12 a.m., you could technically do that. You'll probably still get phone calls. People are still going to be searching. I usually recommend just something like 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. Keep it within business hours, and you'll get leads. When it comes to budget, you want to make sure that your budget is set up to be competitive in your local market. Every market has different click costs. So for example, if you are in a very, more rural place, there's not a ton of competition, your click costs are probably gonna be lower. If you're somewhere in Los Angeles, your click costs could be $20 or more. So for junk removal PPC, I usually recommend starting somewhere around $75 a day, Monday to Friday. That can vary by market, but that's usually a rough estimate of what a junk removal campaign can cost, and not only cost, but to get results. So in a lot of markets, a single click for junk removal can be somewhere around $12. It can be more, it can be less, but if you're coming into a campaign, you're only able to spend $30 a day, and a single click in your market is $12. It's going to be really, really tough to be competitive, and it's going to be even more tough to optimize the campaign and generate enough leads. Because if you're only getting 2 or 3 clicks a day, you might get a lead here and there, and it's going to be tough to kind of really get results out of it. So I recommend kind of having a budget starting somewhere around $75 a day. And it's also really important to make sure that you have the runway to be able to pay for that ad spend for at least a few months. We're going to get into optimization a little bit later on, but the reason being is it takes time to get a Google Ads campaign working. In a lot of cases, I've got things pretty dialed into my end. I can get things working pretty quick, but if you're new to Google Ads, there's going to be a learning process. There's going to be an optimization process, and it's going to take longer than a week. The whole idea is you want to keep getting the campaign better and better every week, and you need to have the runway to make that happen. So let's talk about bidding, kind of going off of the budget. Usually what you want to do is you want to, whenever I'm running a campaign or I'm starting a campaign, I'm going to start it on maximize clicks. And one thing to have it in bold here, make sure you set a CPC limit cap. What that means is if you don't put a number in this box, like some kind of bid limit cap, Google will bid whatever they want to bid. If they want to bid $35, $45 for a click, they will bid a click. They will bid that much for a click. So you want to make sure you set this number to essentially a limit so that Google will not go over it. And pretty much what we want to do is we want to set this number to be competitive within our market. So in order to figure out a good kind of cost per click bid limit for your market, I'll usually go back to that keyword planner. And in a lot of cases, you're going to see this column here, top of page bid, high range. Usually I will set my bid limit to something around these numbers. Doesn't mean you're going to pay this number. It's usually, coming in below that, but you want to make sure that not only your budget is opened up enough, but also that cost per click bid limit is opened up enough. So that way you're actually able to get traffic. Because the way bidding works is if you're not bidding enough, let's say everybody else in your market is bidding, over $12 a click, but you have your cost per click bid limit down at $8, you're just not going to get traffic because they're going to show ahead of you. It's just part of the nature of Google Ads. There's the competitiveness with it. It's an auction, and if people are willing to spend more than you to get that traffic, they're going to get the traffic, you won't get the traffic. So make sure that bid limit is set at a reasonable spot. All right, now that we have our keywords together, it's time to start getting things put together into ad groups. We're going over keyword match types, and this is kind of where the structure of the campaign starts to come together. So we talked about message match, we talked about relevance earlier on. That's been a big theme of this video. That's where all this kind of starts coming into play. You should have your keywords already kind of structured into their ad groups. And pretty much what we're going to do is we're going to start creating ad groups in your campaign and get your keywords into those ad groups. But before just copying and pasting those keywords into your ad groups, you want to make sure that you're adding those keywords in with the right match types before actually adding them to the ad group. And I'll go over all those different match types in a second. In this case, we want to use what's called phrase match and exact match keywords. So pretty much what a match type is you are telling Google what you want your ads to show up for, not just the keyword, but also, I guess kind of the context of that keyword. So phrase match will show your ad for any search term that has that particular phrase in it. So for example, if you're bidding on something like junk removal near me, you could essentially have your ad show up for a term like where to get junk removal near me. As long as that phrase is showing up in the search term, your ad will most likely show up for it. Exact match is pretty much Google is going to show you as close to that exact match of that keyword as possible. There's going to be a little bit of variation, but it will be for the most part in line with what you're bidding on. The final match type is called broad match. That's where there's no modifiers on it. So phrase match has these little quotes. Exact match has the brackets like that. Broad match has a nothing. And I generally avoid broad match. I definitely recommend people who are new to Google Ads avoid broad match, because what's going to happen is Google is going to show your ads for things that have that particular keyword in it, but they will also show your ad for things that Google thinks is related to that keyword. So you could be bidding on junk removal, but Google could show your ad for dumpster rental, or they could show your ad for people looking for, where to dispose trash near me, or the weekly trash schedule, all that kind of stuff. So avoid broad match if you can, if you can kind of avoid it. I definitely recommend it. Stick with phrase, stick with exact, and that's going to help you kind of keep things tighter in your campaign and avoid waste. So what you're going to want to do is you want to take all of your keywords and then wrap them in both of those types, both of those match types. So you're going to have the phrase match for each of your keywords, and then the exact match for each of your keywords. And to make that process easier, you can actually use this tool right here. It's just called adwordswrapper.com. Literally just copy that keyword list, paste it in there, and they have a ton of different options. They have an option to have phrase and exact match. You just copy it and then bring it over into your campaign. Once you get your keywords all wrapped and good to go, it is time to start actually creating your ad groups. You can take those keywords, go to the ad group section of your account, hit that blue plus arrow, and you can literally just copy and paste your keywords into each ad group. Like we talked about with relevance, make sure everything is grouped nicely and organized. And when you're doing this process, Google's going to ask you to, start creating ads. We're going to cover that in just a little bit. For the time being, just focus on getting your keywords up there, getting your ad groups organized, and that's pretty much what we're going to focus on right now. So the key thing, like I mentioned before, keep the relevance good. Don't want to do what I see a lot of people doing, which is just taking all of your keywords and then just dropping them into one ad group. Keep it structured and make sure you have that relevance. So before we forget, before you actually move on to the next step, which should be creating the ads, make sure you're dropping in all those negative keywords. So take that list of negative keywords that you built up, and just like you're adding the keywords to the account, you literally just go to the keyword section of the campaign, click negative keywords, and then just like dropping keywords in, just drop in the negative keywords. So it's very easy. Make sure you're dropping them in at the campaign level of your account, and you should be good to go. And a little side note before we actually get to creating our ads, one thing I always see people talking about is like copywriting hacks and all this to, write the most incredible ad to get the best click-through rate and all this kind of stuff. One of the best things for improving your click-through rate is making sure you've done that legwork up front. You've got your relevance, you've got your keywords structured into ad groups. When we get to the ad creation part of this, it's just lining all that up. Making sure that everything that we're doing is relevant to what people are searching, and that's probably going to have the biggest impact on your click-through rate. Having those ad groups structured properly, because within each one of those ad groups, we're going to create specific ads to what those people are searching. You don't have to create super unique ads for every single one. You can kind of copy and paste them and change the keywords. But before we even get into creating the ads, this is probably one of the biggest things you can do to actually improve the click-through rate, improve their performance. Don't worry about going down the rabbit hole of being an expert copywriter. Just get your campaign structure set up from the start. Now our next step is we are going to start getting our ads together. So if you made it this far, you should have your campaign roughly set up, have the settings set up properly. You should have your keywords put together into ad groups. And now it's time to actually get the ads together for your campaign. So my advice is, try to not overcomplicate this process. As long as, like I mentioned a couple slides ago, as long as you've got your keywords organized into those tightly themed ad groups and you just write ads that are specific to the keywords that you're bidding on, then you should have success with your ads. Your click-through rate should be solid. People should be clicking on the ads. And there's a couple things you want to keep in mind while you're running them is try to think from the perspective of your customer. Really, your job is to just solve that problem for them. They've got junk they need removed. All you need to do with your ads is focus on solving that problem and conveying how you can solve that problem for them. And then also keep in mind the message match between the ads and the landing page you're sending the traffic to, as well as what they're searching. The ads don't have to be this like one-to-one match or say exactly the same things, but as long as the theme of the ads line up with the theme of the landing page, you should be good to go. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to be making responsive search ads. That's pretty much just about the only option at this point. You can do call ads as well, but we're going to be focusing on responsive search ads. And I'm going to jump over into a campaign. I'm not going to go through an entire ad creation because that's going to take a little long, but I will show you what it looks like and give you a few pointers and kind of how to get that together. But pretty much what we're going to be doing is we're going to be filling in a bunch of different headlines and descriptions, and Google is actually going to rotate them around and figure out which combination of headlines and descriptions and everything works the best for your campaign. So I'm going to jump over to a campaign and we'll go over that now. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to walk you through really quickly what the ad creation process looks like. It'll take a little bit too long for this video for me to sit there and like write out a whole ad, but I'll give you a couple ideas and just show you how the responsive search ad process works. So usually what you want to do is, this is the campaign, these are your ad groups. Go to your ad group, one of the ad groups that you just created, and what you're going to do is you're going to hit ads and extensions right here. It's going to pull up a window with your ads, and then just like in the ad group section at the top of the window, there's going to be this little plus sign right here. Just hit that plus sign, click responsive search ad, and then it should take you to a page that looks like this. Above here, like further up this page, if I scroll up, there are additional things. So the first thing you're going to put in is the actual URL to your landing page, and then there's going to be what's called a URL path. In that URL path, I usually put in a keyword, so it could be like junk removal or junk hauling, whatever the ad group might be. Add the keyword into that particular section. But this is pretty much what you're going to see. You're not going to see all these headlines. There's going to be a little blue plus. It'll say like plus headline. It should be in blue text. Same thing with the description. There should be a little plus descriptions, things below that. And really what you want to do is you want to go through, and this is going to be very tedious, and this is why I'm not doing this in this video, and you want to have headlines in every single one of these. Fill all of these headlines out. Fill all of these descriptions out, and it is a time-consuming process. It can be a little challenging to kind of think of a bunch of different ideas, but just try to mix up the keyword. Try to get the keywords in there. Try to add calls to action. So, for example, one of the headlines could just be like junk removal service, and obviously capitalize these. I'm just kind of doing this for speed's sake. Could be call for a free estimate, things like that. And you just want to mix in keyword related terms as well as calls to action. If you have any kind of differentiators, like if you offer same day junk removal, you can put in same day junk removal. There's kind of thinking of these off the top of my head while I'm doing a video, probably not the greatest idea. But one thing you can do is you can go through here, look at your keywords. You could say junk removal near you, so that kind of hits the junk removal near me kind of keywords. Need to remove your junk, question mark, something like that. Or have junk you need removed, need to get rid of some junk. But yeah, the whole idea here is you want to fill out as many headlines as you possibly can, and the reason being is that Google is going to go ahead and then swap through all of these different headlines and figure out which one performs the best. If you have a geographic related ad group, and let's say you're in Tampa, you could say junk removal in Tampa as one of your headlines, or Tampa Bay junk removal. But again, go through, fill out all of these headlines, incorporate the keyword, add calls to action, add any differentiators you might have, and then the same thing with the descriptions. Fill out all of these descriptions, and try to make them all kind of unique. You don't want to have it all say the same thing. Different descriptions, different headlines, and Google's going to go through and actually rotate these. And once they figure out what performs the best, that is the variation they're going to show the most. So that's what the responsive search ads look like. Again, get the keywords in there, and then what you can do is instead of having to create a brand new one for every single ad group, take the junk removal ad that you create, copy it. You can actually do that if you click on the ad at the ad level. There's an option to copy it. You can literally just copy it, paste it into the new ad group, and then change out some of the keywords. So if you want to change this over to like junk hauling, same kind of idea. You don't need to completely redo the ad. Just swap out the keywords. It'll save you a little bit of time. And that's a really, a quick 4 or 5 minute overview on responsive search ads. But again, don't overthink the copywriting process. You don't need to be a copywriting wizard. Just make sure that you have the relevant keywords from the ad group in your ad. Make sure that you are offering a solution to the customer, and make sure that you have calls to action in the ads, things like call for a free estimate, contact us today, all that kind of stuff. And you should see some success with the ads. So once our ads are set up, we are actually going to set up what are called ad extensions. And this is just another way to try to improve the click-through rate on those ads. And we'll jump into that right now. So essentially an ad extension is going to pretty much take up more real estate on Google. And you'll probably see these on other people's ads. They'll have a phone number on the ad. They might have an address listed. They might have additional links on the ads. And these are from ad extensions. So there are a handful that you want to set up, and you don't need to set up all of them, but I recommend setting up as many as possible. So those are site links, call outs, structured snippets, image. It's not always needed in some accounts. I don't know if they're still rolling it out to all accounts. Every account should have it at this point, but if you don't have an image extension option, that's all good. The call extension and location extension. So I'm going to jump over to another account really quick and show you that menu and kind of walk you through them really quick. So I am over in just a quick little tutorial account, and in order to get the ad extensions, you're going to go to that same ads section, and instead of under ads, you have extensions here. You just click that, and you're going to see something like this. Just like everything else, hit that blue plus arrow, and you're going to see this is where you create all of those extensions. Pretty much what you're going to want to do with a lot of these is keep them focused on more calls to actions, more benefit points, and really anything that could, get somebody's attention and get them to click or convert. So some examples for the site links, I like to add in another call to action around, call today for a free estimate or book your appointment today, things like that. Call out extension, same idea. It could be just more benefit points. Just think of little bullet points about you or your business. Could be same day junk removal. It could be, our trucks are on standby. Call today for an estimate, all that kind of stuff. Structured snippet. What I'll do is I'll actually kind of click into these really quick just so you can see what it looks like. Same kind of idea as before. You drop your site link text in here, and then for these you actually need a URL for, usually people are not clicking on the actual site links, but you need a unique URL for each one of these. So usually what I do is I create a new variation of the landing page with a unique URL, and I'll make the first one, book your free estimate, something like that. And then just go down the list, create 4 of those. So you got 4 site link extensions, send them to a URL, and then you'll have that extension set up. Going back here, you got your site link, call out, much simpler. It's just, other little bullet points about your business. So it could be same day junk removal, and just whatever else is relevant. The whole idea here is this is more opportunities to take up more real estate on Google. If you take up more space on Google, you're probably going to get a higher click-through rate, and that's really important. So that is the call-out extension. Going to structured snippet, and this one is kind of interesting. You can actually select different kind of like services. So in this case, you could just do a service catalog, and could have furniture removal, appliance removal, things like that, or residential junk removal, commercial junk removal. Just list services, and again, we're taking up more space on Google, getting an opportunity to higher click-through rate. So that structured snippet, call extension, really straightforward. You just drop your phone number in there, and that's how when you see people that have phone numbers on their ads, especially on mobile, that can help get a handful more leads every single month, and just having that phone number on the ad. Because if somebody's on mobile, they see it, they can just click it to call, as opposed to going to the landing page. So if people just want to click the phone number or call, you're giving them that option with the call extension lead. Lead form extension, don't worry about it. I usually don't mess with the lead form extension. Location extension, for this you just need to connect your Google, I guess now Google business profile to your ad account, and you can have your location show up. Don't worry about this. Don't really have to worry about that. Don't have to worry about that. Since this is a new account and a new campaign, normally there would be an image extension here, and pretty much that's pretty straightforward. You're going to be able to put an image on your ad, and what'll happen is if somebody's on mobile or on desktop, a little image will show up next to the ad, and that can also help improve click-through rate. Again, it's not needed, and like I mentioned before, some accounts don't even have it yet. Since this is a new one, I'm pretty sure it is not available to me just yet. So those are extensions. Make sure you get all those set up. Take the time to really go through it, get some more keywords in there, get some more calls to action in there, and we'll move on to the next step. So by this point, we are pretty close to actually launching the campaign. There's one last yet very, very, very crucial thing that we want to set up, and that is conversion tracking. So without conversion tracking, you're pretty much not going to know what's working and what's not working on your campaign. So this is an absolute must. You need to know which keywords are sending you leads, which ads are sending you leads, and a ton more information. Long story short is if you don't know what is sending you leads or where your leads are coming from, or even if your campaign is sending you leads, like you can't optimize it. You don't know what's working. So that's why conversion tracking is super, super important. We want to set up a few different conversion actions to track. Going back to the extensions, we want to set up call extension conversions. So we want to track when people click on that phone number on your ad. You want to set up landing page phone call conversion and then landing page form submission conversion. It's all very, very easy to set up. There is a piece of code that needs to be installed on the page. Don't worry, you just have to copy and paste. You don't have to know website development or anything like that. Very, very easy to set up, and I will actually show you what those options look like. All right, so if you're in your campaign, in order to actually get to the place where you set up the conversion actions, you're gonna go up here. You can't really see it because it's gonna be cut off here, but right above where I'm going off screen, there's tools and settings. You just click on that. And then under here, you go to conversions. So when you're here, you just hit new conversion action. You're gonna get a bunch of different options here. To set up call extension conversions, you wanna click on phone calls, and then you have the calls from ads option. It's a very simple setup. As long as you have a call extension set up, you're gonna be able to set up a conversion action right there. To track the phone calls from your landing page, same option, hit that, go to calls to a number on your website, and it's gonna give you options to get that set up after you click there. Now, to track any form fills that come through, you gotta click on this website option. This one, in order to actually track your form fill conversions, you need to set up what's called a thank you page. It's essentially after somebody submits a form, you're going to redirect them to a thank you page, which is just saying, hey, thanks, we'll get back to you. And you're going to take a code from here. So they're going to give you the code. You copy that code, put it on the thank you page, and then whenever somebody submits the form, it gets sent to that thank you page. Whenever they hit the thank you page, it's going to trigger that little piece of code, and it's going to let Google know that somebody actually converted. With the phone call conversion action, whenever somebody calls a phone number on your website, same kind of thing. You just take a code, put it on your landing page, and then Google's actually going to swap in a phone number that's going to allow them to track when somebody actually calls the phone number on your website. So they give you instructions on how to do this. I'm sure there's a ton of different YouTube videos on how to set it up. But this is where you're actually going to go set up your conversion actions on your account, and make sure you do this, because if you don't do it, you're going to have no idea what's working. So take the time, set all this stuff up before you even start your campaign. One final note for conversion tracking: this is not a necessary step, but I would definitely recommend setting up a software like CallRail. There's CallRail, there's call tracking metrics. I'm sure there are a ton of different call tracking platforms. I personally use CallRail, and what you're going to be able to do is you're going to be able to not only track the phone calls that come in, but you're also going to be able to, not in every case, but you can usually see the caller ID of the person that came in, so you can actually know who called. And then on top of that, you can record the phone calls as well. So if you want to either improve your own sales ability, or you have somebody on your staff that's answering the phone, you can record those phone calls and actually you know, be able to really kind of get another layer of tracking on top of the conversion tracking on Google Ads. It's nice to just kind of have those recordings. So now that you have everything set up, it is time for, I guess, what is technically the final step. And that is to just turn the campaign on and let it run. You're at that point where if you've done everything in this overview, you should be at a good point where you can actually turn your campaign on and start actually getting some traffic. So what to expect when you turn the campaign on. When you initially turn a campaign on, there's a pretty good chance you're not going to see much traffic right away, but don't worry. It usually takes Google a few days to start showing your ads to more people. Usually this is caused by the bid strategy learning and kind of Google figuring things out on their end. Once you do start getting some traffic though, you want to let the campaign run for about a week, just to start gathering some data. And when I say data, I mean clicks. So I use data and clicks interchangeably, but once you start running the campaign, you're going to start getting some clicks. And then once you've got some clicks, you have some data to work with, it's time to actually start optimizing your campaign. And this is really where, I guess you could say, it's kind of a bit cliche, this is where the money's made. Setting up the campaign is one thing, but once you start getting data in, you're going to be able to see what's working, what's not working, and that's when you actually start to optimize your campaign. After your campaign's been running for a little while, it is now time to start, I guess, the final step. I don't know if you want to call this a step. It's really an ongoing process. It is optimizing the actual campaign. Now I'm gonna cover this at a high level in this video. This is definitely a more in-depth part of the process, and I am going to create another video talking about mainly like an optimization process that I usually follow and kind of go a little bit more in depth into optimization. But I'm going to cover some high-level stuff in this particular video. But this is where you're going to slowly start to improve the performance on your campaign, because as you get people clicking your ads, and if you have conversion tracking set up, obviously you are going to start seeing which parts of your campaign are working and which ones aren't. And like I was kind of saying before, this is why conversion tracking is so important. If you do not have that set up, do that now. You want to get that set up before you actually have your campaign running, because then you can actually start optimizing it. So a simplified way of looking at optimization, it's really just trimming out what isn't working so your budget can go towards what is working. So for example, just a very basic example, if you have a keyword that's getting clicks but it's not sending you any leads, and you go in there, you look at the search traffic being generated from that keyword, you can pretty much just go ahead and remove that keyword from the campaign. Because if you have something that's just spending money and it's not generating leads, you just cut it out of the campaign. It's just getting rid of waste. And this applies to pretty much any optimization you're going to do on the account. Some of the optimizations you can do are you can always refine the search traffic. So you can go in there, look at the search terms report, add in negative keywords, remove non-converting keywords, and really just keep refining the types of traffic and who is actually seeing your ads, who's clicking on your ads, getting rid of anything that's wasting money. So that's search traffic. You can optimize your ads, so you can remove any ads that aren't converting well. You can test new ad copy, and essentially the name of the game with the ads is which one's sending you the cheapest cost per lead. So that's always what I'm looking at whenever I'm optimizing ads, is which of the ads is actually getting you the most affordable leads. You can adjust device bids. So this pretty much means you can look at which devices are actually getting traffic. So you got desktop, mobile phone, tablet, and you can actually adjust how much you are willing to bid on a given device based on its performance. So let's say you have a mobile phone and it is sending you the most affordable cost per lead, it's converting the highest. You can actually tell Google that you want to send more money to that as opposed to desktop computers, because if desktop computers aren't converting well, you don't want to be spending money there. So you're able to adjust that and send more traffic to higher converting devices. You can make bid adjustments on audience, ad schedule, etc. This is kind of getting a little bit more down the weeds at this point of the list, but you can see pretty much which segments of the campaign are working and adjust your bids. The whole idea here is, let's say you see on Wednesdays your campaign doesn't perform as well. You can actually tell Google, hey, I want to adjust my bids and bid less on Wednesday just because it doesn't perform as well. You can bid more on the other days. So it's shifting and allocating your budget based on what's working, really. And then finally, you can make landing page optimizations. This is definitely a more complicated topic, this one, but really optimizing your landing page, just testing different things on your landing page to try and improve the conversion rate. So it could be something as simple as adjusting the headline, adjusting a call to action. It could be something as complicated as completely redesigning it. So those are some different things you can optimize. Now, what I'm going to do is kind of shift gears, and since kind of going into all the optimization would be really, really complicated in this one video, I just wanted to cover it at a high level. I just wanted to give you some kind of troubleshooting things you can go into to help you out. Now, there's a pretty good chance, a campaign will get running and it's just not going to perform the way you want it to perform. And I know, especially when I was early on learning Google Ads, when you have a campaign that is not performing the way you want it to perform, you might get flustered, you might get frustrated, you might get anxious. I don't know what your reaction would be, but you start changing a bunch of stuff, and usually that is not what you want to do. You don't want to just start touching everything and tweaking everything, because then you're just kind of changing stuff to change stuff. What I like to do if something's not working is boil it down to, going back to the three main parts of what makes a Google Ads campaign successful. First thing you want to look at is, are you generating high quality traffic from the campaign? You can go to the search terms report, see what kind of traffic you're generating, and we'll kind of get into that in depth. Are the ads getting clicked on? And then are people actually converting to leads into leads on the landing pages? So those are the three things you really want to boil it down to. If one of those three things are broken, then your campaign, that's most likely why the campaign's broken. So we'll kind of get into each one of those things so you can kind of have a framework that you can approach things with, as opposed to just kind of shooting in the dark. Like, you want to have some way you can approach, troubleshooting or optimizing a campaign to get it to perform better. So first thing we want to think about is, are we getting high quality traffic? So if you go into search terms report on your campaign, you're going to go keywords. Usually I just do this at a campaign level. You can do it at an ad group level. It doesn't really matter. But go to your keywords. You're going to see this little tab here that says search terms. Everything you're going to see in this window is what your ads are actually showing up for in the market. Like, what did somebody search who either clicked on your ad or saw your ad? And this is really, really, really valuable information, because not only are you going to find more keywords that you could add to your account, you're going to be able to find a ton of negative keywords you can add to your account as well. So if you're looking at this and you notice that you are showing up for a bunch of really, really, really irrelevant traffic, that's going to be your problem. That is huge. If you're seeing things like free junk removal, start a junk removal business, really anything else that you can look at and just say, I'm not going to make money on that, then the thing you need to focus on in this case is optimizing your traffic. If you're not getting high quality traffic, it's not going to work. So usually you're going to do this by making sure your keywords are phrase and exact match, and then adding more negative keywords to your campaign will generally resolve that issue. Another thing we can focus on when we are troubleshooting and optimizing is looking at your ads. Are they getting clicked on? If you've got your campaign structured properly, you got your ad group set up properly, you got your specific keywords within those themes in the ad group, and you are showing relevant ads to what people are searching for, then click-through rate really shouldn't be a problem. You've got your extensions set up, all that kind of stuff shouldn't be an issue. If you're seeing a CTR, click-through rate below anything from like 3 to 4%, it could be a few things. Number one, it could be, like I just mentioned, not showing a relevant ad to what somebody searched. This is the second point here, is probably the biggest thing that I see is usually some people just don't fill out all the headlines. They don't fill out all the descriptions. And when you don't do that, your ads just don't get clicked on as much. When everybody else is doing their responsive search ads and they're kind of leveraging Google's AI brain, they tend to get the higher click-through rate. You'll end up getting a lower click-through rate, and you want to make sure you have those headlines filled out. In some cases, you need to just adjust the ad copy to include more calls to actions, more attention-grabbing headlines, adding in more relevant keyword-related headlines, just kind of adjusting the ad copy as a whole. Or if you didn't set up ad extensions, you might want to do that as well. That can also help improve the click-through rate. A lot of times, this is the less likely thing. If you have a campaign issue, generally, if the ads are getting clicked on, you should be good. And as long as things are structured properly, you should be good. But that leads us to the last thing we'll talk about, which is, are people actually converting into leads on the landing pages? Now, this is probably the most nuanced part of it. It's really the toughest thing to answer, specifically what it is when it is this case. But if you can look at your account, you're generating good traffic, your ads are getting clicked on, but you're just not seeing the leads that you want to see, there could be an issue with either the landing page or it could be something to do with your message match. If this is the case, here's some things you can think about. Is conversion tracking set up, and is it set up properly? If there's an issue with the conversion tracking, that could be why you're not seeing leads. Going back to message match, are your ads actually lining up with the content on the landing page? If there's a disconnect there, that could be causing the issue. Another thing you can think about is your landing page actually loading or displaying correctly? I know in some cases you could look at it on desktop, it could look fine, but if you look at it on your mobile phone and it looks completely broken, or like you can't click the click to call button, that could be a massive issue. That could tank your conversion rate. Is your landing page loading fast enough? If your landing page is not loading at a reasonable speed, people are most likely just going to bounce and go back to Google. There's a ton of, speed, like web page speed testers on the internet. You can look up a few of them. I like using GT Metrics is a good one. Plug it in there. It gives you a grade. If you're anything, I would say B or above, you should be fine. I usually try to shoot for A when it comes to that, but make sure your landing page is loading fast enough. And one last thing to think about is, are you making calls to action on the landing page? Is it clear? Are they compelling? Do people know what that next step is to take on the landing page? Or is it difficult to see, a big, bold, call for a quote button, for example? If all those things are good, then you may just need to make adjustments to the landing page. You can try changing the headlines, calls to action, the copy on the page, images, all that kind of stuff. So that's pretty much it for this video. If you made it this far, I really appreciate you watching. But I just want to kind of wrap things up with a few little parting notes here. Google Ads, even just from my experience, it can be a tough platform to learn, but I think anybody can get it with enough time put in. And, it's going to take more than a week to really get a grasp on it. So make sure you set aside the time and the budget to really make it work for you. Again, going back to this thing that I've been talking about all the time, if you got these three elements, you got your good traffic, you got ads getting clicked on, you got landing pages that convert, you'll definitely have success with Google Ads. So that is it for this video. I hope this video was helpful. Again, if you want to find that step-by-step kind of hands-on tutorial, you'll find that in the link in the description below. If you did enjoy this video, I'd really appreciate you liking the video, subscribing to the channel. Anything else you want to see, just drop it in the comments below. Also, if you are a junk removal business and you want somebody to actually set up a campaign like this and run it for you, you can actually apply to have a free consultation with myself in the description below. Just a quick form you have to fill out, and then I can reach out to you, see if I can help you out. So that's pretty much it. Again, if you found this helpful, like the video, subscribe, really helps out, and I hope to see you in the next video. Thanks.